Hi, my name is Kelly Harrell, and today I'm going to share with you about science curriculum. So I'm going to go through um, grades kinder through high school, and I'm going to give you a lot of different ideas, but please know this is not an exhausted list. There's so much more out there that you can do with your students. So open up your note app in your device or grab a pencil and paper. Here we go. To start off, a lot of parents ask, especially in the primary years, how long should I do history and science for? Okay. And previously in reading, we talked about how reading will really take up the bulk of your day, like 2 hours or more. Math will take about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. And so, kind of rule of thumb for science, what I say is K through second grade, um, like 30 minutes each, 2 days a week. So you might be doing science 2 days a week for 30 minutes, and you might be doing history 2 days a week for 30 minutes. When you get into like third through eighth grade, it's going to increase significantly. By seventh, eighth grade, you're talking about probably 45 minutes, uh, about 4 days a week, maybe 5 days a week. Um, so as your child grows, of course, then you're going to go deeper into different subjects. Now, you could just get a science textbook for the grade level. There are a lot of different ones out there for Christian curriculum. One of the things that I saw though with the science textbooks that we were using and for the history textbooks is that every year they repeated the same thing, only they went a little more in depth. Okay. Now, while this is good for math, I don't necessarily think that this is best for science and history, and this is why. If you think back to what you learned when you were in kindergarten or first grade, chances are what you remember is what you were really passionate about. So, as homeschool parents, we have this amazing opportunity to expose our students to lots of different things to find out what they're passionate about and then dive in deep with that. And I highly recommend you do that. Now, by the time your child is in like sixth or seventh grade, I do think it's important to have a more set curriculum or for them to actually be attending a science class in person. But until then, have fun with it. There's so much you can do. Let's get started. TK or kinder or first grade, the Magic School Bus series is awesome. These are videos that you can probably find somewhere on TV. Also, Discovery Education. I know that's one of the sites that Springs Charter School pays for parents for. You can find the Magic School Bus videos on that site. You can also find the books, and the books are all written like comics, like the actual series. So these are phenomenal books to read with your younger kids. I would recommend if you're doing that to read a different book every week. So it doesn't have to be a different book every time you sit down, but maybe take a couple of days to go through this. And when you're doing this, you're kind of teaching a little more thematically. So another resource that Springs pays for parents is Enchanted Learning. So for example, if you're learning about the solar system and you're reading this book, then you as a parent could jump on Enchanted Learning and you could find some art projects or different worksheets, and your students could do that. And then really all you're paying for are the books, or when the library's open, then you can check the books out from the library too. Talking about thematic studies, a lot of families like to study nature. And so here's just an example I'm sure one of many examples of nature journals you could do with your kids. So they would take it out, and every time it gives them something else to look for, and they draw in it. I would encourage you to do a search on Amazon. It even talks about different animals, compares the two. Look on Amazon for something like this, barnesandnobles.com or Rainbow Resources. But absolutely, when your kids are little, the best way that they can learn is to go out and have those experiences. And why not um, have them experience nature? That's super great. Um, that also goes along with field trips, which brings up one of my favorite things that we did when the kids were little. We purchased the Complete Zoo Adventure. It is Christian based. It's by Master Books. I would venture to guess maybe I think I got this in the Bible bookstore back when they existed. Maybe you could get it now on like Christian Book Distributor. But this was the thing. We live close to San Diego, so we had passes to the San Diego Zoo, and my son loved animals. So we would go down there quite often. And so what we would do is we spent an entire year going through reading about the different animals and studying a different animal every week. Again, we got all of our information from here, but then I would jump on Enchanted Learning and I would do printouts about the different animals, or we do art projects, things related to them. And then we would go down to the zoo on our field trip. The other neat thing about this is it has field fact cards. So we also learned about different places, different environments, and the ecosystems. That's the word I'm looking for. And then it had little journals so that the kids could go through and write down the different animals that they saw. So really it's like a scavenger hunt when they're inside the zoo. And there were also fact cards on animals too. See, like little things like that. Lots of fun stuff. See, and again, like I said, we took a year and that's what we did. We went through animals. Another great website if you're Christian and looking for that Christian perspective and looking at animals is Answers in Genesis. They have kids videos, different songs about animals, lots of different resources on there. Another curriculum that is very much for auditory learners is called Lyrical Life Science. Okay. This is kind of neat. It comes with a book with different facts and descriptions, but then there's always a song that goes along with that. So for example, here's a song on carnivores, and it comes with a CD too. So the kids learn the song, and then we would go through and we would read about all the different types and all the different facts. And then the kids had that song that reminded them of the different things that we learned in it. So that's fun too. And it's kind of a higher level though, because it does go more in depth. I do know a lot of families who would use this across the grades, which is very popular too. And I do think you can do that up until like 5th grade. Another one that we used across the grades was the Abeka curriculum. That one is Christian based, but it was kind of neat. A plug for your own little co-op. You can create a co-op just with one other family. My best friend and I had a little co-op going, and she taught the kids science one day a week, and I taught the kids writing on another day. So that way we each had like one day where we were free for like 3 hours, but our kids were getting direct instruction during that time in a specific area, and then they would have homework too. So I loaned our textbooks out, and I don't know where they ended up. But the neat thing about this wasn't Abeka. This was the Apologia curriculum. I'm sorry. Apologia goes through, and they this one was on the solar system, but they also have the different types of animals. And so we did that together. My son would read the chapter to my daughter. I don't know how much she really understood or got, but then there are also worksheets that then they would do together, or labs they would do together with their friends. And there were different levels of worksheets, so the younger kids could do something different from the older kids. So that's pretty cool. Okay. There are also a lot of just really great books out there. Um, Cool Stuff 2.0. You know, I mean, science just covers so much, so many different areas. And so this is just kind of like a textbook, but all about different science related things. So the students can read about um, how different things work. That's also the subject of this book, and this was a really, really neat book. This one actually has drawings, not pictures. Um, the the new the new way things work. And this was actually a resource or kind of like a textbook with the Beautiful Feet science curriculum. So, Beautiful Feet in general is a literature based history program, but they do have one guide that is science. And so it's kind of neat. The guide itself is Christian, but the books that you use with it are really not Christian. So, you read about I think you start with Archimedes. You go all the way back to different scientists and you read about these different scientists. And then you use this book and you read about some of the things that they invented so that you can understand them. And there was also, I think, a section like different experiments you could do with them in that. Speaking of literature based science programs, Moving Beyond the Page has an entire science curriculum that basically there are different books that they read. They use a lot of, they use some Usborne books in that curriculum. These are really great books too because they are chock full of information and pictures. So they're very engaging for kids of all ages. But the Usborne Introduction to Genes and DNA, the complete book of the microscope, the complete book of the human body. And honestly, my daughter has attended science class since she was in 4th grade. And we got some of these books for those classes that she was, in. The teachers recognize that these have a lot of good information, but it's also broken up into ways. This is all about waste. It's broken up to more interesting ways and more engaging ways for the students. Usborne also has the mysteries and marvels of science. So lots of different, just really colorful, engaging books. And again, until your student is in like 6th, 7th grade, you don't necessarily have to worry about a specific curriculum, in my opinion. You can just help them to explore different ideas that they're interested in. Brain Pop is a really great online program. Springs Charter School pays for it for parents, and you can watch different videos based on science. The Mystery of Science is an online science curriculum, as well as Science Fusion has all kinds of videos and experiments online. There are also different subscription boxes that are a lot of fun, and that's a great way to have your kids learn science while they're exploring and creating. Kiwi crates is a really big one with a lot of my homeschool families. Now, something I encourage you, because it's really easy for the kids to just like rip open the box and go to town. All the ingredients, yeah, everything is there that they need to create, and you can get them according to what grade level they're at. But make sure that you actually go through it and talk to the student about it. I would even recommend, if you get like a Kiwi Crate subscription, especially for students 2nd grade or above, have a Kiwi Crate journal. And so after they make whatever it is that's in the crate, have them write about it. Have them write about what it is, what it does, what their favorite part of making it was, something like that. Because that will kind of bring it full circle, and that will be cool, more informational than, oh, look, I just made a pulley, when they might not even know what a pulley is. And a couple other science crates are Bitsbox. Those are related more to programming. And then there's also a Genius box, which I just had a family purchase that. I don't know a lot about it, um, except I looked in it. It looked really cool. So lots of creative ways to learn science. When they get older, you can get different textbooks. Um, the we talked about the day book before, I think, in reading, and there's actually a science day book. And so what that looks like, I can all I had was the teacher's guide, but what it looks like is basically it's a textbook in a way that the students write in. And there is a teacher's guide that comes with it with the answers. That's always helpful for you. And so it is more interactive with the student, and then it also gives you ideas and talking points in the teacher's guide. And then you also have your regular textbooks. This was one that my son used for one of his online science classes in, I think, 7th grade. Science Shepherd. Even though it sounds Christian, I do not believe they are Christian based. But this is kind of your pretty typical textbook, and it's going through life science. If you can do in-person classes for junior high and high school, I do recommend it. The kids learn a lot more and they're engaged. I gotta tell you, I kind of freaked out when my son had to dissect a frog at my dining room table. That wasn't fun for me. But maybe it would be fun for you. And if it's fun for you, you go for it. You enjoy that. But do make sure that they are doing science experiments. There are different kits you can buy for the younger kids, like 100 science experiments. Lakeshore is an amazing place to get kits for science for the younger kids, especially, and different hands-on science things. Remember, you're homeschooled. And part of the reason we homeschool is so we can give our students the best education. So I recommend that you do a lot of hands-on activities with the kids, especially in regards to science, and especially when they're younger, because that's what they're going to remember. Take field trips to the zoo, to the tar pits, to the science museum. If you can, get a year pass to the science museum 1 year and make that your exploration. There's so much information out there, and there's so much that they can learn and do. And again, when you find an area that your students really, really love and they're passionate about, especially in science, make sure to pursue that passion. There are a lot more curriculums out there, but I hope this gives you an idea of how you can bring science into your homeschool adventure.